Jay Ferruggia, welcome to the Smart Nutrition Made Simple show. How you doing, brother?
What's up, man? I'm great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, it's an absolute privilege and honor to have you on the show. Definitely a fan. Jay, you've been coaching for a long time now, and I'm excited for the opportunity just to kind of dive in and glean some of your wisdom, knowledge, and insights on the coaching industry, on nutrition and fitness and health. Tell us a little bit about your business as it stands. Like what exactly is it that you guys do right now?
So I started in '94, started training people, started one of the first underground warehouse style gyms, trained athletes for 15 years, high school, college, pro guys. Then went on to write for every magazine, had my own column, men's fitness for 10 years, became the chief training advisor at a magazine. I was one of the first people to put out, self-publish my own training programs, ebooks in 2003, ongoing, monthly membership stuff in 2009. So we did that for years. I spent 15 years, 12 hours a day on the gym floor, grinding, training people. And then it kind of evolved into where we're at nowadays, where it was a little bit of a blend. Like I moved from Jersey to Cali to kind of reinvent myself and eliminate some self-limiting beliefs and false narratives and just kind of grow more than I had. And so I went through this whole personal development journey. So I incorporated that a lot of like more mindset and discipline and personal development stuff into what we do now. So it's still like fitness based, right? Like it's training, nutrition, but there's a lot of mindset habits. It's men, so it's some masculinity and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And so that's kind of what we do. I've been doing the podcast for like 9 years now. Do a lot of my own events, speak at a lot of events. It's a bunch of different stuff, but it's all under the umbrella of helping people get better, helping people get stronger inside and out. Just becoming their best selves.
Yeah, man. How has the narrative shifted in your mind, or kind of your results shifted, or the way in which you work with clients as you underwent that self-improvement journey, right? You said you moved, you were trying to shift limiting beliefs. How has that infused into your coaching, and how important is that process for those men looking to create change in their life?
Well, I mean, like the answers to everything are out there everywhere for free. But why don't people get anywhere? Why don't people get in shape? Why don't people,
Right.
leave a job they hate or make the amount of money they want or live where they want or have the relationships they want? So it's not a lack of information. Nobody needs more information. It's a lack of implementation. It's a lack of confidence in yourself. It's insecurity. It's those self-limiting beliefs. It's how you were raised. And people think that like wine, you evolve, you get better as you get older. Oh, somehow I'll just end up making
Mm.
another 50 grand next year and I'll end up making more money and I'll be better. And whatever I used to believe, I won't believe anymore and I'll evolve. But that doesn't happen unless you're intentional about it. I mean, we all know people, it might even be your dad, whoever, like who are in their late 60s, 70s, 80s, who are the same way they were in 1982, or you know what I mean? Like they just chose not to. And we know a lot of people who are evolving every day because they chose to do the work. They choose to wake up and be better and challenge themselves and get uncomfortable and challenge like my worldview. Why do I think of things like this? Why do I see things like this? What did my mom and dad tell me or not tell me? Or what love did they not give me when I was a kid or whatever it is, right? And so if you don't challenge those things, you're always kind of stuck in that box. So I think you got to do the work. And then also, I just realized that so much, so many of the people who don't get where they want, it's really fucking easy. It's like all the things I just said. And that as a coach, it's my job not necessarily to be your friend, although I do end up becoming like, lifelong friends with a lot of my clients, it's to challenge you and be like, Ben, you're fucking up. Like, why'd you do this? Why didn't you do that? Like, no. So some guys will come to me and they'll maybe meet me in a certain, like maybe I come off stage speaking and they see me one way and then they become a client like, whoa, this guy's fucking serious. I'm like, yeah, but bro, that's what you're paying me for. Like, you're not paying me to be
Totally.
like, oh, great, you ate cheesecake and slept in, it's like, so I don't know. I'm just rambling out of time. I don't even remember the
No, no,
original
no, no, no. You're
question.
good. I mean, I appreciate that. It definitely lends itself to like it's so much deeper than eat these macros and do these lifts in the gym, right? Because like you said, it's like you turn anywhere you look, we've got plans in place. People are implementing these things to some degree or not getting results. So where's the disconnect? What is it that's actually going to move the needle? And invariably, we all have these limiting factors that are holding us back that have to do with self-beliefs, growth, challenging ourselves, preconceived, emotional stuff, whatever. So what do you see as like some of the biggest limiting beliefs for guys that say that they want, anyone that says that they want to make change and aren't making change?
Like who doesn't have vices, right? Like everyone has vices. Everyone has. I mean,
Totally.
depending on how you grew up, like I grew up with addiction and alcoholism and overeating and gambling and womanizing and this, that, and the other thing. Like so, and maybe you have more of that, maybe you have less of that, but we all have something. Like we all have moments of weakness or laziness. We're like, oh, I'll just take this reward or whatever because I had a hard day. So we kind of default to that, and then you just realize like I forget. I think it's called like the Zeigarnik effect or something. Like when you had someone mention something to you, like let's say I mentioned to you like a certain type of car, and you never heard of it. Now tomorrow you'll see that car every day, right? Like if some weird, yeah. So it's like when someone holds up that mirror to you, or you maybe read a book or listen to a podcast or something, and you're like, oh fuck, I'm doing that. Then all of a sudden you notice it, right? And you become aware. So then you can consciously start to like eliminate those weak behaviors or stop making those excuses. Like if I look back at myself 10 years ago or 20 years ago, it's like, geez, I was doing all that weak stuff and making all those, like you label yourself too, right? You go, well, I'm a fat Italian. I grew up and my grandmother was cooking lasagna 24/7 and everyone was always eating. And my uncles and grandfathers ate themselves to death. So that's just who I am. Like I'm going to eat chicken.
Yeah. Well, type 2 diabetes is genetic, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's genetic, so.
Yeah. It runs in your family. I heard someone say something the other day. It was like, no, it doesn't run in your family. No one runs in your family. That's why.
That's right. That's right. So what were some of the things that in your process of changing your limiting beliefs, like what are some of the steps that you took to create more awareness, to challenge yourself, to start showing up in a bigger, better, different way that has kind of propelled you in the direction that you're on now?
Yeah. So like I said, I left Jersey and I went to Cali. Like business was good at the time. I was leaving the brick and mortar behind, but I had already established a really successful online business for years, so it wasn't a huge risk. And I went there really the first year or two. My sole intention was, okay, I'm going to back off on learning more about fitness, learning more about business. It's just like every book I read is going to be on personal development, and everything I do is going to be about growing and personal development and mindset. And I'm going to challenge myself because for the previous 15 years in the gym, I was good. Like every year I got better. And if there's 12, 15 athletes in there, I'm in my 1,000 square foot space. And eventually we grew to a 1,600 square foot space, but it's my space and I'm good. But I still couldn't go out to dinner with more than 5 or 6 people, and certainly more than 4 people that I didn't know, and not just kind of shrink down and always be that shy, insecure person. The glass is half empty, like just the way I was raised. And I said that like, oh, that's just who I've always been. That's how my family is. That's how I was raised. So I wanted to challenge that. So I started taking speaking classes, taking stand-up classes, taking improv at Second City. And I got to LA knowing 3 people. And now if I scrolled through my phone and showed you the numbers of people in LA, it would take like the rest of this podcast. Like it's everybody. Like they used to call me like the mayor of Santa Monica. But I intentionally did that. I went out every day, like, how can I meet more people? How can I serve more people? How can I get over my, social awkwardness and my shyness, and just leave the house every day with like, who can I make feel better? How can I engage people? How can I, start a conversation, give a compliment, do all the things that would not come naturally to me. And that really changed my life. And then once I saw like all the things that were holding me back, like probably everyone's dealing with some level of that, so like that was why I wanted to. And for a while, I went so much into the personal development stuff that fitness was kind of like on a back burner. And now it's kind of like a blend of both, because I feel like fitness is a huge part of personal development. So I feel like I've kind of meshed them together now, where it's, I feel like it's kind of a perfect combo.
What role has having coaches played in the development of those skills? And obviously, like, what do you see as far as yourself? But obviously, it permeates over to your clients and their results, having you as a coach, or the importance of having coaches, period.
You got to have coaches, you got to have mentors, you got to surround yourself with the right people. I mean, how you do life is largely dictated by who you do life with, whether that's, close friends or coaches that you hire, whatever it might be, mastermind groups you join. So I did all that when I first got out there. Like I was going to those groups, I was going to those meetings. I would even go on meetup.com and just go locally, like where I thought like, okay, high level people will be at this thing. Let's just go to it and interact and see who I could meet, and just put myself out there. And it really does change you, because that was one of the things that I had in mind too when I left Jersey. Was like, I didn't know it until I knew it, but all of a sudden I had this awakening. I was like, man, everyone around me is kind of like complaining, gossiping, negative. It must be nice. The man's holding me back, whatever it was, right? And I was like, I don't want to be around those kind of people. I don't want to be that kind of person anymore. So I had to proactively get around the kind of people I want to be around. And then I surrounded myself like Bedros Keuilian. I'm sure you probably know B, is one of my closest friends, and I proactively did that. Like, we happened to meet at a charity event, hit it off, flew back to LA. And usually, you know how things like that work. Yeah, we should connect. And it's like, peace, you never hang out. But I was cultivating that. I was proactive in that. I said, dude, let's go to this concert. Let's go to this game. Let's go here. Let's go. And then we became best friends, and we hung out like every week for the next 10 years. And I did that with plenty of people, but like high level people, right? And as soon as someone is, low energy, low vibration, low frequency, negative, complaining, I'm done with them. I can't be near that kind of person. Like that's kryptonite to me. So just seeking out those people. And so I was fortunate enough to have a lot of people that are really respected high level coaches as my close friends, which is great. But then I also invested and went to, all those, like going to Second City, like having the teachers there. My friend Rich Baker is a teacher at Second City, and he's a fantastic comedian, improv. Like, to this day, he's a good friend of mine. But Rich was super impactful in my life because he helped me get out of my comfort zone. I hired Roger Love, who's the world's greatest vocal coach. So he coaches Tony Robbins, Bo Eason, any speaker you could think of, but also like Eminem, Steven Tyler, Christina Aguilera. So I spent like 30 grand working with him, and just one thing after another. And you got to do that. Like, the most successful people I know are constantly going to those kinds of things, going to mastermind groups, investing in coaching. It's a game changer. And I think also, if you're a coach, which I would imagine you have, in the audience, coaches, trainers, nutrition, whatever. If you're a coach and you're not investing in coaching all the time, you're self-sabotaging your own business, because in a weird way, you're telling the universe you don't believe in what you're selling. So you should always be selling, you should always be investing in coaching, and coaching where it's like, oh, fuck, that's a lot of money. Like, if you want to charge a lot of money, you better be able to pay a lot of money for coaching, so it helps you level up in so many ways.
Yeah, man, that's super profound, and definitely something that resonates with me as a product of coaches and mentors throughout my career. And it's funny because every time I found that things are starting to stagnate, I also see the correlation around I'm not being challenged personally in areas of my life. Maybe I'm in between coaches at the time, whether it's, the dude who's writing my programs or doing my nutrition, or business coach at the time. And it really just trickles down into business. And it's remarkable how that happens. I think that a lot of guys that we work with, they're very driven to excel in a myriad of areas in their life. And oftentimes they find that, they hit their 40s and it's like, fuck, I'm so quote unquote successful. And then they look in the mirror and they're like, but I certainly don't feel like I look like I'm representing the level of success or excellence that I want to be upholding, which, begs the question around why they haven't taken the step to surround themselves with, one, the right type of people, and two, actually finding some mentors in that space. And so I guess, when we talk about that level of mentorship, what's the conversation with guys that are looking to make change? Literally anyone. This is not just guys, but people that are looking to make change in their life. And, they look around and they say, well, who am I surrounding myself with? How am I being challenged? How am I acknowledging what it is that I don't know? Right. You said, like, you need to establish awareness around it. And what I think is, it's the things that we rationalize that are actually holding us back. Right. Yeah. So how do you challenge your clients to step up and step into the things that we know are going to make change, that aren't necessarily just like the X's and O's of nutrition?
I get that everyone does. Like years ago, I used to be like, how could people not be obsessed with training the way, you and I are, right? Like, right. It's the highlight of my day. I couldn't really get it. But then, one of the things I've kind of reframed is, and this goes across the board for everything you do to better yourself, is you got to reframe it. Like, people think, oh, it's selfish. Like, sometimes people come and go, oh, I can't make that time. I got to spend time with my wife, my kids, and do this. I don't have the time to do that. And I'm working too much. And I don't have the time to do that. And then I'll be like, okay, well, I guess I don't know. I don't have 5 kids, and like maybe they're right. So how am I going to argue with them? But then I realized it was just bullshit. It was nonsense. So you have to be selfish. It's like that's why when the
Mhm.
plane is going, if they say the plane's going to go down, put your mask on first, right? It's like a cliche, but if you don't take care of yourself first, and that was what I kind of realized was like I came from more of a people pleasing, like Mr. Nice Guy, like that's who I was. So I would always say yes and like be a yes man, shit like that, because I didn't want people not to like me and I didn't want to seem selfish and this and that. I was like, oh, that's totally backwards. That's not
Mm.
even in the realms of reality, right? Like I got to get up, do my shit, take care of myself. And obviously training's part of that, eating well is part of that, but it's other things like whatever I need to do. So like it doesn't matter what's going on, nothing gets scheduled before 10. Like even if you were like, hey Jay, I actually pay $1 million, I was like, no, I can't do anything before 10. The Rock's in town. Michael Jordan wants to play one-on-one. I ain't doing it before 10. Like you got to have those, rules for your life and things like that. So like that makes me feel better because if I don't get the shit I need done between 6 and 10, then I won't be good on this podcast for you. I won't be good for my wife. I won't be good for my friends. I won't be able to take care of people, right? So I kind of reframe like, and Kobe Bryant said the most important thing is to inspire people, so that they can be great. So like it's not 100% selfish. It's like you're becoming your best self for everybody else. Right? People are like, oh, you're selfish that you just make your own meals all day and you train, whatever. It's like, no, dude, you're doing that so you could be better, so you could help other people. Like if there's things you want to
Mhm.
achieve in life, you have to take care of yourself. Like people are like, oh, I don't have time. I'll just get fast food. It's like, okay, great. You you're super unhealthy now. You're gonna die. You're not gonna be able to take care of your kids, or you're always gonna feel like shit, right? Your health's gonna be a mess. Like all these things that people have this crazy list of excuses, like you got to reframe it. It's all bullshit. So take care of yourself. And for me, taking care of myself means, getting up at that time, doing a quick, like little meditation mindset thing, reading, and this isn't like one of those 2 hour morning routines. It's literally like 15, 20 minutes. I get all this done. Then I got to do my block of work. Then I train at a certain time. I have to do those things selfishly, if you want to call it that. And then I could be my best self and I could make more of an impact in the world and be better for other people.
Let's dive into the power of routine a little bit because what you're saying is so salient around by virtue of us prioritizing ourselves, right? Taking care of our training, take care of our nutrition. Like we see how it affects and positively impacts other areas of your life. I'm confident that you have clients that by virtue of them getting healthier, getting leaner, getting stronger, it improved their marriage, it improved their relationships with their kids,
Oh
their
yeah.
business started to do better.
Yeah.
Like it can't
All that.
not
Right.
carry over
Right.
because then you learn how to be more focused in those other areas. You learn how to effectively prioritize through this nutrition and fitness process. Part of prioritizing yourself is having established routines in place. And I'm glad that you mentioned like we don't need to have this ridiculous morning routine, but I am curious, whether you want to talk about your routine or just the general routines that you found to be successful for our listeners.
So the things that I do are when I first like music is everything to me. Like I'm obsessed with music. If I had to choose between listening to music and training for the rest of my life, it'd be a really hard choice. But because mute, I would train just for health and longevity. But it's very close. So I have a morning pump up playlist, and I play it every day when I first wake up. And I'm playing it, while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm making coffee, whatever. Because every day I'm reprogramming that little kid who thought he was the worst and he was shy and insecure and hated himself to believe like I'm superhuman now, like I'm the world's greatest, right? Like, so I'm listening to hip hop, like Can't Nobody Stop Me, and songs by Eminem and Royce and Black Thought and all these things. Like, I even had the Superman theme song on there. I had the Tiger from Rocky on there, and it's just playing. I'm like, yo, I can't be stopped. And I'll write some shit like that, right? Like, I'm the most this, and I'm the best that. Like, I just do that in my journal every day, and a couple goals I want to achieve, and then I'll write the names of 5 names of people that I'm grateful for. So again, it's super fast, super easy. And then I'll read something from just read one passage from the Tao Te Ching. I like for anyone who's interested, the Stephen Mitchell interpretation is the best one, I think. Um, I think it's always good to read. Like we get caught up reading a lot of like business and self-help books, but like
Right.
timeless wisdom from like hundreds of, thousands of years ago I think is awesome. So stuff like that. and then I'm just working. Then I just have my most important task for the day, whatever it is. And I used to always fall victim to, which a lot of people do. And I guess, sometimes if I could still, probably default to it once in a blue moon, then I got to check myself, where you have a to-do list of 78 things. And it's like, yeah, you're not getting any of those done. So I
Right.
try to keep it 5 things. I think like the most you can do to really move the needle is like maybe in 3 things, like 5 things in a day to really crush and really move forward. And then either automate, delegate, or eliminate the other stuff. That's why, me personally, I always have to be rereading books like Essentialism, The One Thing, The 80/20
Yeah.
Principle, anything on minimalism, simplicity, Thoreau, whatever it might be, right? And then I love Stoicism, stuff like that too. So just reading some stuff like that, and then just crushing my most important task, making sure I'm not being distracted, focusing, and then obviously I'm eating healthy throughout the day and training, and I do think that builds your confidence too, which a lot of people like. For me, I always ate healthy most of the time, but I'm still eat shit way more than I should, probably every night, right? Like every night's dessert, and like I said, I would justify that, be like, oh, I'm big, I'm strong, I'm like
Right.
I'm training hard. I'm a fat Italian, whatever. I'm a foodie, like all those things, right? But like now I see how it does improve your self-confidence when you get to the end of the day and like, oh man, I'd love to have that pint of ice cream. And the reality is I'll wake up the next morning and I'll look the exact same, or I'll look leaner if I have the pint of ice cream. But it's more the discipline and the challenge. Like, okay, I did it. That's great. And I do see how that does really improve your self-esteem and your confidence when you're like, I'm doing the hard things. Like, we hear like almost cliche. We hear, oh, you should do hard things. You should push yourself out of your comfort zone. So some people are like, well, what does that mean? Like, I'm not going to swim with sharks on a daily basis. I'm not going to go fight Mike Tyson on a daily basis, right? But the hardest thing, and I'm sure you would agree, the hardest thing anyone can do on a daily basis is control what they put in their mouth. Like, it's a really, really hard thing to do. Like, we're bombarded every day with ads everywhere for junk food, junk food, junk food. Like, if you watch sports, I think every commercial is either fast food, beer, candy, or drugs, prescription drugs. But it's like, it's all those things. And everyone around you is not like you and I. Like, you go out in the world, everyone's eating junk food. So that's a really tough challenge. So if you want to challenge yourself, like, you don't have to do one of those retreats where you go in darkness for 7 days. Like, just get to the end of the day and don't eat shit. That's pretty hard. And if you could string up 5, 6 days in a row, and then if, let's say, you want to earn a cheat meal on Saturday night. But what I find happens with myself and clients is, it's like Jerry Seinfeld talks about. He opens up the calendar and he checks every day that he writes, right? Like every day he writes jokes, he check. And then once you see that string of check marks on the calendar, you don't want to
Right.
break it. Like, I had never gone, except for times when I would do a 30-day paleo AIP, and then maybe I extend that to 6 weeks. In my whole life, I'd never gone more than 6 weeks without having dessert. And generally, outside of those times, it was no more than 5 to 6 days. And so a year or two ago, I said, all right, let me see if I can go 90 days. And I got to 90 days. I was like, there's no way I'm breaking this. So I did another 90 days. And then I got to a year of no sweets, which is like, I went through the holidays, everything. And I was like, at this point, am I ever going to eat sweets again? And I go, you know what? Like, let me
Right.
do it when it's the right occasion with the right people. And then the funny thing is, the day I did it, on the way home, I said to my wife, I was like, I wish I didn't even do that,
Yeah. Like totally not
Yeah.
worth it. The thing that I think is interesting and perhaps relevant for the listeners with how you just kind of laid out all of the things that you do, because I think for maybe the vast majority of people that might seem kind of overwhelming. Like, right, like most people don't really know what it means to eat healthy or put together 3 meals and of meat and vegetables, or not eat dessert for multiple days, or not drink alcohol for 90 days, or whatever it is, right? So, what I think when we talk about establishing this level of discomfort, you're dead on. Like, dude, do we have to do a fucking ice bath every day to
Right.
be
Right.
healthier?
Yeah.
Or like, I don't want to do that. I don't know. Like, I just don't want to. I don't care how good it is for me.
Yeah.
Screw that. Like, I'm not going to do that. But challenge me to like not check my phone until 10 a.m. Challenge me to accumulate 5,000 steps before 10 a.m. Challenge me to push my coffee back till I've drinking a little bit of water or had a meal. Challenge me to go to bed before 10 p.m. or not spend all night just watching TV and eating junk to wake up at a random time. And I just feel like people are all over the place. Like there's literally no routine in place other than the non-negotiables of like, yeah, Monday through Friday, I have to be at work or online at 8 a.m. Right.
That's what I was going to say is everybody has structure and rules for work. And we have, like, if you play sports, obviously there's rules. If you go out in the world, there's rules, there's laws you can't break. And
Right.
that's how society works. That's how things work. Like you wouldn't make any money if you didn't have any kind of structure or rules for your business, whether you work for somebody else or you have your own business. It's almost common sense to be like, oh yeah, why don't I have those for my life? Everything in my life could be so much better
Exactly.
if I implemented those rules. And you don't have to start like a maniac. Like maybe just come up with 3 rules. And it doesn't have
Right.
to be ultra strict. Maybe it's as simple as I only drink once a week and I allow myself 3 drinks. And that's a limit. And just see how that goes for the next 6 weeks. And that might be great.
Yeah.
Because then, like, when you have the rules, you don't want to break them. And again, every time you kind of, string along those victories, it's like, oh, I want to keep going with this. So maybe it's as simple as I go to bed at 10, not 10:03, not 10:15, not like, oh, this episode of Yellowstone's so good, I got to watch another one. It's like, just have those strict rules. You don't have to live like a Spartan. You don't have to do anything crazy. Just try something that's a little bit of a stretch. It's a little bit uncomfortable for you. And then you just start to feel better because you're like, yeah, why am I living without this structure or this discipline? Because, structure and discipline is what really does equal freedom. Like I've never worked for anybody. So people always say, oh man, that's got to be great. I would love that freedom. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's absolute chaos and hell
Correct.
if you don't build some structure and rules and
Correct.
discipline in. You're not ready for it. Like you got to be ready for it. It's not what you think. It's going to be worse. You're going to want to go
Yeah.
back to working for somebody else immediately if you don't
No
get really
shit.
good with it. Yeah. Yeah. Now you're going to go from working 8 or 10 hours a day to 24, you know?
Amen to that. It's funny you brought that up. I turned to my wife because my wife and I, she helps in the business and so we work right next to each other and whatever, just, how it is on a daily basis. It's always just this undulating fucking roller coaster. And I turned to her yesterday at some point. I was like, I want to go back to 16 years old, working for Handyman Express, not giving a shit about anything,
Yeah.
like just going out and repairing decks and construction and manual labor. And I don't have to worry about people, whatever. But at the end of the day, I'm with you. Like I'm unemployable
Yeah.
and, we obviously have a tremendous amount of freedom should we put the right pieces in place
Yeah.
to be able to do that. So I love that you brought up, routines and rules. And I think if most people could assign the same level of responsibility that they delegate to their workplace, like look how much you could accomplish. And that's where perhaps the biggest misconception around when guys kind of come in to our pipeline to start working together is the preconceived notions that they're going to hit the ground running, like tell me everything I need to start doing. Let's add all of this shit onto my plate when I'm already have no, routine and am all over the place. I guess, what's your perception of that in terms of like the initial stages of the busy executive getting started or just the middle-aged dude with a couple kids that again, finally looks in the mirror and they're like, I do not like what I see. I want to do better. Where do you usually find them starting out?
Creating simple rules first, like I said, right? Like just going to bed a little bit earlier,
Yeah.
limiting the drinks, and you don't have to cut out dessert. Like if you like dessert, I mean, you can get ripped eating every night of the year. You can have dessert, So I don't believe in doing anything crazy unless someone's like, that's what I really need right now. That's what I really want right now. You make it work for the individual. I mean, so if you like, I've had plenty of people who they just want to have a protein shake and like chicken and vegetables during the day. And then they're going to go to Peter Luger's or Fancy Steakhouse and eat steak and cheesecake at night and still get jacked and ripped. And you could totally do that, but you got to obviously, have some structure there and some macros that you're following. So I like to make it simple for the average person, but if you're going to come work with me and pay me, I also think you got to, as a coach, know who you want to work with and what your deal is now. Otherwise, you don't even really have a business. You just have a job forever. And I've been coaching since 1994. So you got to make it. So what I do is like, I can get on these things and speak to the average person who wants to do that, but I'm not your guy for coaching. Like my guys are people who are They're hard charging type A guys. They're successful and they have trained for a while. They have eaten fairly healthy for a while, but they're just, they're nowhere near or somewhat near, but where they need to be.
Yeah.
That's who I want to work with. And I think that's a good lesson for coaches too, is like, be clear about who you're working with. Like, I'm definitely not 30 years in the game. I don't want to work with a beginner. Work with, like I said, a guy who's experienced, who's training. Well, he sees that I could take all his shit to the next level,
How have your coaching style, priorities around nutrition and training shifted for your clients as you've evolved through the industry, over 25 plus years?
I've definitely simplified everything. I think everyone goes through this as whatever type of coach you are at the beginning. It's almost like the Bruce Lee thing, right? Where he says, like, at the beginning, a punch is just a punch and a kick is just a kick. And then you learn everything and everything's like, there's a million different options. Then at the end, when you reach true mastery, you realize that a punch was just a kick, a punch is just a punch, and a kick is just a kick.
Yeah.
So it's like at the beginning, you're trying everything under the sun. And you might be doing that for 10 or 15, 20 years, And you also want to impress your clients with all the knowledge that you have. And you make things way too complicated. And you give them a lot of shit, right? It's like, oh, Ben just gave me a bunch of money, so I'm going to have him do 85 fucking different things this week, and he's going to be blown away. We're going to change his training every week, and he's going to be doing all this crazy dieting and stuff like that. It's like, no. That's the exact opposite of what you do. So my programs are way more simple than they used to be. And I also used to think, well, people are paying me this amount of money. I need to entertain them. No, not that either. So it's super simple. It's super basic. It's consistent. There's not a lot of variety. Nutrition, super simple, super basic, not a lot of variety. Now, with some of my advanced guys, I'll have them eat the same shit over and over and over again. Macros are very consistent, but when they get down to, if they're getting close to single digit body fat or something, then we'll definitely do some calorie and carb cycling and stuff like that. But that's about as fancy as I'll get with it. So it's really just, doing the mundane things over and over and over again, and just mastery, just an approach to mastery of simplicity. And it's more extraction rather than addition, right? It's just like, what can we hack out? Like, if you start with me today, it's like, what could we hack out? What can we hack out? Let's look at your training. Half of this shit. Let's throw it in the garbage. Let's look at your nutrition. How do we simplify it? Here's a simple list of foods. And then just lifestyle stuff. People are like you said earlier, they're like, all right, should I do an ice bath and a sauna and a red light and a sun my balls and do this and that and the other thing? It's like, God, let's just do a few things. Like, for 99% of the people on the planet, they could lose their minds listening to all those biohacking podcasts and all that shit all day. Where it's like, bro, if you just train, like if you strength train and do cardio, you're going to reduce your risk. Like, everyone's like, oh, I got to change the underwear. It's like, yeah, maybe, but like, just strength train and do cardio and you'll reduce your risk for like every disease under the sun greatly. I don't know what percentage, but like, and then from there, if you eat healthy food, and not as healthy as I eat, just like don't eat shit. And then if you prioritize sleep, then all like the red light, the blue light blockers and all this, like, yeah, okay, maybe that'll add 5 days to your life or something, but like, get the big rocks and keep it super simple, and and if you're good with that, be good with that. Never buy a red light thing. Like, who even cares, Just simplify it.
Having been in LA, I bet it was not infrequent for you to see a myriad of the biohackers preaching all of their biohacks, during the week, and then out partying on the weekends, right?
Well,
because I have
the biohacking guys love some drugs. They party.
There you go.
Yeah,
exactly.
And I'm not judging. Nothing wrong with that.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's just our industry, man. It's just like, you see all of this stuff, and that's what I'm glad, and that's what I was excited about having you on, is just because you keep it real. And I keep it real, and everyone knows, who listens to this podcast, is like, I'm not going to bullshit you, but I'm always coming back to the simplicity of this game. It's like, listen, just put some skills in motion, build some behaviors, and execute, and figure out what you need to do to execute consistently and build on that. And don't think that, the ice bath or the blue light blocking glasses is going to make a big difference if you're drinking alcohol every single day or every weekend or whatever. So, with that said, and I'll start to wrap it up here, but I guess, what are some of the things, having been around as long as you have, or the state of the industry right now, like, what are some of the things that are frustrating for you, and perhaps the direction that the industry is going?
Nothing. I don't care.
Awesome. I think that's actually a great answer.
Yeah, I don't care. I only want to focus on what I think's the right thing and what my clients should do, and that's it. Because then if I get caught up on all of that stuff, I could easily be susceptible to being like, oh, I should do 86 biohacks hacks a day and all that too. And I have a lot of that stuff because a lot of those guys are my friends, right? So they'll have me ordering all that stuff, and then it's in the closet 2 weeks later, you know. But that said, I do own a sauna. I'm in the sauna five days a week.
Yeah, I own a sauna. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah, and that's about it. But like, I try not to get caught up in the trends, and so I don't really want to know that much about what everyone's doing. I just want to, do my thing.
Love it.
Keep it simple. And then again, back to like, what were people doing 100 years ago? What were people doing 1,000 years ago? Well, like what's timeless stuff, right? Like that's probably more important.
Yeah, absolutely. Eating whole food, moving heavy shit.
Yeah,
probably moving
exactly.
a lot. What?
And something as simple as like for anyone listening, the best form of exercise for most people, obviously I think strength training is the best, but like just walk, just walk.
Right.
That's what we did. That's how we, the revolution, we just walked all day. So just start walking. That's the easiest thing.
It really is. And I think, I think that for people listening, it's like, oh, that sounds too simple, or it's not going to make that big of a difference, but yet you're not doing anything. So it's like, hey, I guarantee, like, if you just increased your movement, your walking, and doubled your walking right now, doubled your walking on a daily basis, you're going to see significant and feel significant results. 100%. Do nothing else.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so simple. You're going to be leaner. You're going to feel better. You're probably going to sleep better. And then if you sleep better, everything else improves. So it's like,
yep, that's the way it goes. We'll wrap it up with this. So if you had to do it all over again with respect to your fitness and nutrition journey, is there anything that you would have done differently?
I mean, sure, hindsight's always 20/20, right? Like I wish I trained the way I train now back then. I wish I ate the way, like, you look back, you're like, oh God, why did I train like that? Wasted.
Well, just give me an example. Like, what were you doing back then that you would look at now and be like, that was fucking stupid?
I think, there was that long stretch of period for probably 10 or 12 years where I was just obsessed with powerlifting and West Side, and 52 weeks here, I'm doing crazy heavy 1-rep maxes, with just insane amounts of weight. I'm hitting smelling salts before every set, and I'm like breaking stuff over my head. And so, of course, I'm always getting injured. My shoulder was injured, my back was injured, my knees were injured. So I felt, I put a lot of wear and tear on myself for no reason at all during that time. I was vegan for a couple of years. I was vegetarian for a couple of years. That was a waste. Oh God. I mean, and then you think back to like the seafood diet, because I wasn't, and I don't think I would have gone from 147 to 230 if I just tried eating clean. Like, I was eating a lot of shit, but I could have eaten cleaner, way cleaner junk food. Like, I was eating a lot of fast food during those days and things like that. Things that are stupid like that. And just simplified it, more the way things are now.
I love it. Where can people find out more about you, your business, training, what have you?
Yeah, if you just go to jay.fit, jay.fit. On Instagram, I'm at Jay Ferruggia. Renegade Strength Show is the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, all the platforms.
Awesome, man. Jay, thank you so much for your time, brother. Really, really appreciate it. Bring the fire, and we'll chat soon.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.
Take care, brother.